All right, good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us today. We'd like to welcome Monde Donaldson, who's the Vice President of the Better Business Bureau of Central and South Alabama Educational Foundation. In this role, she presents educational programs for businesses and consumers to promote trust in the marketplace and to call out substandard business practices. She's a graduate of the University of Alabama, and she heads the Mobile office of the Better Business Bureau. Monde, thank you for joining us today.
Penelope, thank you so much for asking me to be with y'all. This is my second visit to Monroeville, and fortunately, the first one I got to see everybody in person, and this one not so much in person. But I hope to meet some new people through the Monroeville Chamber and get to know you more in person in a couple of months. So, as Penelope told you, my topic today is scams in your small business. Here's my contact information should you need to reach me afterwards. That's mdonaldson@csal.bbb.org. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Better Business Bureau before we get into our presentation. The Better Business Bureau has been around for over 100 years. We are in the United States, we're in Canada, and we're in Central America. We started in Georgia through some Coca-Cola folks who wanted to promote truth in advertising. If you remember many years ago, well, none of us were alive then, but people were using cola products as tonics to cure you for different things. And so when Coca-Cola came along and some of the ingredients were the same, they said, hey, we've got to stop this, and we have to call out people who are advertising things that are not real. So Coca-Cola, along with some other executives, formed the Better Business Bureau. We have been in Alabama since the mid-50s, and we cover a 50-county service area. We are glad that Monroeville is a part of that county, that service area. We have offices in Mobile, which is where I am, and we have 2 people down here. And then we have 23 people up in our Birmingham office. So we reach everywhere from Birmingham south, except for a little bitty part of East Alabama. So I'm going to tell you some things today that hopefully can protect your small business. And I hope you will share some of these with your colleagues and some of your friends at church, maybe, or just up and down the street. So small businesses are particularly vulnerable when it comes to scams. And the reason is that they are less likely to report scams, and they are also very susceptible to online scams. 29 million small businesses in the United States make up half the workforce. So you've got a lot of people out there that, are wearing multiple hats trying to do lots of part of the job that maybe don't have a lot of training in one area or the other. So the data that I'm going to share with you today was from a survey done with 6 local Better Business Bureaus to BBB accredited businesses. Now, to be an accredited business, you have to meet our certain standards. That to become an accredited member, you have to meet certain things. You have to have a license. You have to have been in business for a certain amount of time, and you have to, meet all our P's and Q's, so to say. So this survey is done with accredited businesses and non-accredited businesses. And then we also got some data through our BBB Scam Tracker, which is a great tool if you want to track scams around the country. So what we want to talk about, though, is do you think there is a more risk for scams today, or less, or about the same? Well, evidently, and you can tell from this survey, and I think we would all agree, that there's 67% more likely to have scams today, as we are much higher at risk. And that's because there's so many other tools that these con artists are using to get to small business owners. So that is really no surprise at all. So I think this is a funny little question too. Who do you think is most likely to be scammed? And most people say other businesses, but it can happen to anybody. It can happen to you and your business. It can happen to your grandmother. It can happen to your next door neighbor. So People don't think they can fall for something, but they certainly can. So how do these con people reach small businesses? You know, they pretend to be someone we can trust, and they create a sense of urgency, and then they kind of fly under the radar using our normal business practices. And I want to share with you 3 different stories that come to mind. The first one was at a Dollar General store in Robertsdale down here. And I'm sure y'all have Dollar Generals up there. They're all over the South. And the manager was not there. And the clerk on duty got a call from someone saying they were a district manager and that there was something wrong with the computer system and the cash registers. And could that clerk take all the money that was in the cash register and come meet this person in a parking lot? Well, unfortunately, this young lady did go do that. But of course, that was not a district manager for Dollar General. She is no longer employed by Dollar General. But that's just, I mean, that's something that happened right here in Baldwin County. The second one is another example of something that happened in Baldwin County, where at the Cobalt restaurant, which is a fantastic place to eat right on the Florida-Alabama border, similar situation. A young lady answered the phone, and the person said they were with the sheriff's department, and there had been some, and could they speak to the manager? And when the lady told them that the manager wasn't in, they said, well, can you give me their cell phone number? I really need to reach them. When she did give the cell phone number out, and a little bit later, a call came in and said that it looked like it was on the manager's phone number, but it was not, and asked could they bring some money to a location outside of Cobalt. Again, similar situation, but that person had said they were with the Orange Beach Police Department. And the third one is a little bit different, but it's an online scam involving a small business from the flip side. Somebody in Fairhope was ordering Christmas flowers. They saw a display. On a website showing all these beautiful flowers. They ordered an arrangement and paid over $100 for it. When it came, it was supposed to be a live, beautiful arrangement to put in the middle of your table. When it came, it was a fake Christmas tree with 3 paper ornaments that looked like it had just been bought at Dollar General. And these people, when they tried to get their money back, that company really didn't even exist. And what they had done was lifted the graphics off an FTD floral site and put it on their own. Like, these are the examples of some things that they could sell to people. So that one's a little bit different, but it just goes to show you that these cons are thinking up. They just like they say here on number 1. The first 2, they pretended to be someone that you could trust, and they created a sense of urgency, telling both the cashiers and the people on duty that they needed to get some money to them right away. So that happens, unfortunately, a lot. So the top 5 small business scams are credit cards, directory listings and advertising, fake invoices and supplier bills, fake check, and tech support. Many of these should not be a surprise to you. Y'all probably see a lot of fake credit cards, people using other people's credit cards. I know we see a lot of people coming around trying to sell listings and advertising in directories that don't exist. The next one there on the fake invoices and suppliers. I was in Wetumpka last week, where the school superintendent told us that they had gotten a fake invoice from a company. The email address looked very similar to the company that they had been normally ordering this particular item from. Fortunately, his clerk realized that that didn't look right, and she knew she hadn't ordered that particular item. So she caught it, but it was just one letter off the particular company than they had been normally doing business with. fake checks, that's bad checks, and then tech support. And many people all the time will get a little email pop up or a little text saying there's something wrong with their computer. Call Microsoft now. Call us now. Well, you need to upgrade to this or up to that. And then it's just a pure scam. Most of those are just pure scams. So how do they, top methods of these scammers trying to get the money from small businesses? They use phone, email, in person, in the mail, website, and then even text messaging. And I'm sure the next time this survey is done, you're going to see that change. The statistics changed a little bit, because I'm sure that website, text messaging, and email are going to pop way ahead of phone. But you do get calls all the time telling you something's wrong and you need to check on it. And when most of the time it is not wrong at all. And so what's the top payment method used by these scammers? There you'll see, once again, credit card, check, wire transfer, prepaid cards. These are all things that you as a small businessman or woman have probably come across in your daily work. So what we're trying to do today, though, is to learn how to fight against these scams and what you can do to protect your company. So let's start with training your folks on how to detect and avoid scams. And this is very important. Number 2, limiting the number of people authorized to pay invoices or place orders. We've seen this a lot during the pandemic, very similar to the story I just shared a minute ago about the Elmore County school superintendent. People are working from home. They might get an email from someone they think is the vendor they have been using, or they may get an email saying we've got a great deal on toilet paper or Clorox wipes or something like that. And we've seen that during the pandemic. So we have seen number 2 happening quite a lot more during COVID. Then number 3 is talking about scams, and you ask your employee to share stories about scamming. It's happening everywhere. And then also number 4, have clear procedures in place to make sure that all your invoices are legitimate. One thing I would suggest there is if the person who's doing your bookkeeping or getting your invoices, that they call you, if you're working from home, that you call your supervisor and say, did you really authorize this? Because those people that are working from home, they're used to having their colleagues around or their boss popping in and out of their office, and so they might be at home. So I think we have seen an increase in this during COVID. So what is hindering organizations and businesses' ability to advance their security efforts against business scams? Well, most of the people that I think we're talking to today are small business owners, so they don't have a lot of resources to put into place some of these things that I'm going to suggest. Or maybe they haven't had the time to get the information. So their time is limited, their resources are limited. And then sometimes they just might not, their lack of training. I mean, I know banks train people all the time on what to look for, but maybe in your workforce, that's just not been a part of your employees' training from day one, and it probably should be. So, kind of back to what I was saying a minute ago, where do you learn about scams? Most people get their news about scams from news stories. So that would be TV, radio, newspaper. They see things on the internet and in conversations with friends. I do have a TV show every Tuesday on WKRG, which I believe is in your market. Every Tuesday at noon, the BBB has a spot. And then the Chamber of Commerce there has been very kind, and they will run things in their newsletter that you'll be seeing, or you probably have seen. Well, they might be alerting you to something going on in the state or in the country. So those are good things to share with your employees. I think it's very, very important to educate educate, educate. So 91% of the people surveyed said they would report a scam, and the main reason was to help others. They wanted to see people brought to justice, and of course they wanted to try and get their money back. And we can help on a lot of those things. So why do people not report scams? Well, they don't think there's an easy way to report them. They don't know who to report it to, and they don't believe anything will be done about it. And I would say all those things, the BBB can help you find a way to. We do have a great way to report it. We can tell you who to report it to besides us, and in some cases, we can help you get your money back. The other big thing that I would say the reason they don't report scams is because they are embarrassed. And they're very, very embarrassed. And they think, well, I can't let anybody know that this has happened. And what I say to people when they say, I had a gentleman last week who he and his wife have been scammed out of $3,000. And I thanked him for calling us because he was really the hero to me, because he was calling us because he didn't want this to happen to anybody else. And that is so important. Now, he didn't want me to use his name, but I told him that from now on, anytime I gave a talk, I was going to just talk about how he and his wife was the one who was actually scammed. The person who called him told him not to tell anybody. You know, they scared him. And this gentleman doesn't want to be identified, but I told him, I said, the heroes are the ones that come forward, because we can't stop these people. We can't alert other people that things are going on unless people report them. And so here's some different businesses around the country that told their story when we were doing this survey. There we have example of a fake computer repair for a non-existent problem, advertising in a local telephone book. I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody come to businesses trying to sell some special directory, like Southern Small Towns, or let me show you how we can just advertise your downtown. You've never heard of the company before, you've never heard of them again, and by the time you write them a check, they are gone down the road. Those are the kinds of things that we want to alert small businesses about. So here's how you can protect your small business. Train and inform your employees. Verify invoices and payments. Be tech savvy and know who you're dealing with. Many of the times when these scammers come along, they're trying to get you to do something in a hurry. So, you know, I know Monroeville in the area that's the great thing about being in a smaller community. You know people. So you start, if you get calls or if you get an email, just start checking around and then call back the source that they may or may not quote. But just to make sure everybody is fully informed about what's going on. If they don't know how to do something on their computer, tell them not to be answering any little pop-ups, to call back your IT person or whatever company is helping you with IT. And there again, verify invoices and payments. So important. This whole scams in your small business research report is available from the BBB. Those are the websites for you right there, where it's called bbb.org, small businesses. And there's the bbb.org/small business scams. And up in the one that says data at a glance, many of the things I talked about today are just up there on that graphic. So if you wanted to go back later and look at this presentation and maybe even print that out and post it at your place of business, just so your employees can be aware of things, of what's going on, how easy it is to scam people, and you know, the tools to use to stop this. And it's not, and it happens in Monroeville, and it happens in Atmore, and it happens in Mobile, and it happens all over the country. I would say particularly what we've seen in South Alabama in this past year have been the COVID scams. That may be everything from invoicing people, like I said, for Clorox wipes or paper towels or something like that. We've seen a lot of the economic stimulus payments. We've seen scams coming up from that. What we've seen a lot down here is scrupulous companies coming in after the 2 hurricanes we had down here. And I know y'all have had those as well. So, if somebody comes in and they want to do some work for you, check out all their business licenses, make sure that they're registered with the city, get referrals. Don't just take somebody's business card that just comes and knocks on your door and it just has one phone number and no other information. I know that Penelope would always tell you to shop small and shop local. And that's what we say as well. Do business with the people that you know, the people that you can trust. The whole mission of the Better Business Bureau is to promote trust in the marketplace. So, we want you to do business with people that you can trust, or call the chamber, ask the chamber, do you know somebody who can do this with me? Help me with this. And you can call the Better Business Bureau at any time if you want to check out a business. You can start getting emails from somebody and they're in Birmingham, you've never heard of them, call us. That's what we're here for. We help. That's what we have operators on duty 5 days a week, taking 60 or 70 calls a day from people all over Alabama, checking on businesses, wanting a list of accredited businesses, asking is such and such a bad or good business practice. So I appreciate spending some time with y'all today. Hope I've given you a little insight and some things that you can look for in your small business. And if you need to know any other information, there's our information right up here on this slide. I would encourage you to follow us on social media. We have a lot of great posts on a daily basis about things that are going on in the country, things that are going on in Alabama, tips on everything from romance scams to puppy scams to tax tips as tax season comes up. So please consider the BBB as a great resource for you. Thanks so much for having me today, and I look forward to seeing you in person in the months to come.
Monde, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a great presentation. And if you don't mind, could you please email me the data at a glance report, and I can share that with our members also with this presentation and with our weekly newsletter that we send out.
Okay, I'll be happy to do it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Monde. Bye-bye.